Hey, Gathering family, it is another episode of the What I Wish I'd Said podcast. This is where I, on a Monday, just kind of talk through yesterday's message and anything I thought was unclear or things that you might have thought were unclear, you asked me about. I wanted to address them here. So, um, I, I thought yesterday was great. I will say this. Let me explain how I was feeling. It's been a long time since I felt just a touch of God like I felt yesterday before the service. So, literally in the back in pre service prayer, I just felt like the Lord called me to lay down on the floor in front of Him. And so, as I did that, I just felt the weightiness of His love and grace. And it was really hard to get up off that floor. And as the service progressed, worship was phenomenal. And his presence was so sweet for me personally. And I've heard from other people, not just me, but for a lot of people in the room. I just continually, as the service went on, had a hard time really just focusing on anything more than just an awareness of how much God loved me. And that's what I was kind of wrestling with yesterday. Like, how do I preach and teach when I'm feeling that? Because I kind of just wanted to sit down and say, man, do y'all feel how much He loves you? So maybe I wish I'd have said that more clearly, but I was struggling to find the words and also just the energy to stay standing upright yesterday. Don't let that freak you out. I mean, haven't all of us had moments where we saw somebody that we loved and the expression going weak in the knees? We associate that with a lack of courage, but I would suggest that sometimes we go weak in the knees because we're so aware of the love of God in Christ towards us, and so aware of His weighty, holy presence. And that's where I was yesterday. So just to kind of give you some language behind what was going on when I kept saying, like I was having a hard time articulating some words and some phrases at the beginning. That's why. But ironically, I did get a number of texts, and they all asked the same question. Can you guess what it was? Yeah. Apparently, a number of you really wanted to know if Adam had a belly button. So I did some research, and listen, I was not expecting this. The answer I'm going to give you is the answer that I would have given you, but the reason behind the answer, I hope this encourages you. So first off, no, Adam did not have a belly button, and neither did Eve. And why didn't they have a belly button? The answer is clear, right? Because they weren't formed in a mother's womb. They were hand created by God. Now we know from Psalm 139 that He still creates us. He knits us together. But where does He do that? In our mother's womb. So all of us have belly buttons because it's proof that we were attached to an umbilical cord as a part of the birthing process. But Adam and Eve didn't go through that. And so the answer that I found said this: why would God give them a false identity about their history? Did you get what I just said? Why would God give them a false identity about their history? He would never have done that. This person even went on to say, and I've said this before too, that Adam's first day as a living creation he had the appearance of a 30-year-old man. He looked like a man, even though he'd only been alive for a moment. And so this person also said, would he have had a belly button? No, because he didn't go through that process. Neither would trees that were created have had growth rings because they hadn't grown yet. They were instantly created with the appearance of maturity. And so the last thing I'll leave you with is from Ken Ham, and he makes this point. He said the reason why it's so important that Adam and Eve didn't have a belly button is because as the generations went forward, as people who were in their lineage, so their sons, their grandchildren, their great-great-grandchildren, every time they saw Adam and Eve, they would have asked the same question: why don't you have a belly button? Aren't kids the best at that, or maybe the worst? They ask us about the interesting parts of our body. Like, hey, Grandpa, why do you have so many moles, right? They would have asked him, why don't y'all have belly buttons? And every time they were asked, they would get to recount the story of why they don't have a belly button, because they were created in the image of God. that they weren't born the way that their grandchildren and great-grandchildren were. They were created, handcrafted, created. It was unique to them, and it was the story that pointed to the origin of all of us. I never expected that when I looked up the question, did Adam have a belly button? But there you go. So for all of you that asked that question, even if you were just doing it to be cute, thanks for asking, because today I am even more confident in my Creator and in His plan for our lives. And I pray that you are as well. Have a fantastic week. Be sure and subscribe, y'all, to the YouTube channel so that you can get updates when we drop other podcast episodes of the What I Wish I'd Said podcast. And also, members of the gathering, don't forget, we've got those videos that we're showing as we lead up to Encounter with stories of revival. I want you to subscribe so you can get those as well. Y'all be blessed. Have an awesome week.